Hello, Josh here. For the past 2 or 3 years now, I've been looking at other people's creepypastas. So, today, let's do something a little different and look at something I wrote. This one being titled The Wind. It is partially inspired by The Cave, along with SpongeBob, a little bit of SpongeBob Creature from the Krusty Krab, in that four campers, victims, or however, can't remember the description, go into this forest, eat a bunch of stuff that gives them hallucinations, and if you know The Cave, it's going to involve some dark, demented twist, or something like that. Well, I wouldn't say dark and demented, it's kind of more dark, like child dark, something like that. I wouldn't know if you'd claim it. So, and plus this, I'm going to also say this right now, this is one of two stories I wrote for a college creative writing class. The other one I might read to you guys possibly real soon. Depends on how I do it, because the first one I wrote, the next one that I wrote is kind of something I'm a little bit more weary of doing on YouTube, but this one I kind of feel like, it's Halloween, why not laugh at somebody, so I'm just going to do it for me. And so, at the end of the video, I will give you my final thoughts on it and tell you if I view it as a good story or not. So, I guess, enjoy the story. If you enjoy it, good. If you hate it, good. So, hit it! Good evening, children. I am what you would call the voice in the wind. Yes, that's right. I'm the wind, and I do talk. If you're confused, think of the phrase, I'm the whisper in the wind. If you're still confused, well, too bad, just go with it. My advice to you is just don't laugh. I have a hard enough time as it is trying to keep my spring breezy reputation, but some idiot will complain about me and oh boy, you better be underground. I listen to everything that goes outside your fancy skyscrapers and big, shiny new houses. So, who better to tell a story than by someone you don't even think twice about? Except for the people in New Mexico. Damn bastards. They're always complaining about me. I will blow that state off the face of the earth if it's the last thing I do. Anyway, enough of me rambling. I'm here to tell you the story of four people who come camping out in my territory one night. And let's just say they'll have a new outlook on their lives. I don't really know their names, and nor do I really care. I'm just here to tell a story. It begins in the following way. A group of friends went out camping one night. This group of friends was made up of a boy who wears glasses, a girl with blonde hair, a boy with black hair and round features, and a girl who had long brown hair and also wears glasses. They were having a great time until one of them realizes they forgot the food. After arguing, the two guys went looking for food with their flashlights, due to me knocking over their ice chest. The two searched and they found some food that had a spherical top with a stem coming out of it, some berries that had spikes on them, and a type of plant that had a weird star shape on it. They brought it back to their friends, and they all ate everything that the two guys brought, and later, they all just sat around the fire and just looked up upon the stars and the moon, where they saw many different things. The way how I am able to know what they saw is through what it was they were mumbling about inside their visions. And I have a pretty good idea what it was that they all saw. Let's start off with the boy with the glasses. The boy with glasses loved to play video games and watch movies all day long. He would oftentimes scheme to sit down and play a game all day, even at the point of lying to his parents about him doing his homework when he hasn't ever completed a single assignment. Hell, he hasn't ever done a single homework assignment in his whole life. The only reason how he made it into college was because he paid someone to do his homework for him. The two people he usually paid was his two friends, the boy with the round features and the girl with glasses and long brown hair. He usually tells them to always give credit to where credit is due, but he never does it himself, making him a hypocrite. Now, some of you might know this to be a fact of life, in that you should never ever be a hypocrite, meaning that you wouldn't do something and then go right ahead and do it after you told that person not to do what you just said. I believe there's a phrase that could explain it better, what I basically just said. But what was it? Oh yeah, do as I say, not as I do. And that is just what this boy had done in the past, but just before coming on this trip with his friends. And after eating all of that forest trash, and in his vision, he saw this person appear in the moon. This person in the moon challenged him to a race in this dreamy-like circus with glowing monsters of giant proportions. The monsters were varied in color and what they looked like. One was neon red with a road in the mouth as part of the racetrack. Another monster that was bright yellow and would just trip you if you drove right through it. And two monsters that were dark blue and blended into the background that would throw things at the racers. The entire area itself was full of stars and carnival-like rides that were controlled by the monsters, as they were the ones that controlled the actions that were on his racetrack that the boy with the glasses was seeing. The race began to start as the boy with glasses was in his car. The car itself was an actual monster that was black and purple, and the headlights of the car were the actual monster's eyes. The headlights turned a bright green, and the moon raced out to the starting line with a loud buzz. In case you were wondering, yes, the moon is actually racing. It actually spread its arms and legs, and it's just running. I also should mention that the moon has the face of a person the boy with the glasses has wronged. Hey, these people had a bunch of hallucinogens. What'd you expect? Back to the story. The moon was in the lead, while the boy with glasses was in second place. He chased after the moon, though the monster that had roared inside its mouth, and dodging the blue monster that bowled a giant bowling ball at the boy with glasses. Nothing was going his way, but when he hit the bright yellow monster, it spun him out of control and off a cliff. The last thing he saw was the person he was a hypocrite to in the moon. Then things went very dark for him. It's only natural for human beings to procrastinate. However, if you procrastinate too long, it can lead you into big trouble. Such as if you put off fixing a paper for a final in an English class by watching movies all the time, or simply put off doing a chore because you simply didn't want to do it. This is all what the girl with long blonde hair was supposed to do before she was allowed to go on this trip with her friends. The girl with the long blonde hair does not like school very much. To her, she finds it to be the most boring place on the entire planet. She would oftentimes find ways to not to go, such as faking an illness or accidentally killing a family member. It's nothing major. It's usually a fish that she would usually kill. So, when she tired of accidentally killing a family member, and she heard that her brother, the boy with glasses, was going on this camping trip, she tagged along by blackmailing her brother to let her come, much to his dismay. Now to the present. When the girl with the long blonde hair was beginning to wake up from her food coma, in the middle of the whole forest, the trees began to develop faces that looked close to what the fish's mouth looked like, except the leaves were forming large sets of teeth that were very sharp to touch. These trees started to move closer to her, and she got up and began to run. She ran and ran. Each time the trees kept moving closer and closer to her, scaring her to death. But she managed to find a cave and ran to the inside of it. She was catching her breath with a huge, gigantic fish grabbing her and took her into the trees. The giant fish let her go at the base of the cave. She tried to get up, but each tree fish lashed themselves to her wrist and would not let her go. They began to circle around her and began to chant, "Kill us, kill her," over and over. When another giant fish came around the corner, the fish was a bit different from the first giant fish, as this one was actually colored with the same colors, being reds, greens, yellows, and blues. And this one was way bigger than the first fish and had more sharper teeth. This fish told all of the other fishes to back off of the girl except for the first giant fish. The two giant fishes swam in the air as they were the entire time. Should have mentioned that earlier. Oh well. And each of them began to literally tear the girl with long blonde hair apart as each of her screams began to get quieter and quieter. Greed. Is it like obsession? I don't know, but I'm telling the story, so whatever. Greed is what a bunch of people use to describe someone who has the color green in their eyeballs, or whenever they're swimming in that green-like paper substance known as money. I should know what that is. That stuff is always blowing in my presence. It's always fun to watch a bunch of you people try to steal it from me, usually to no avail. However, some asshole will stop at nothing to obtain their own desires, no matter the cost. I guess that is the difference between obsession and greed. This is the lesson the boy with the round features will be learning tonight. The boy with round features loves animals and will go to great lengths to get them, from exotic animals like zebras to common animals like house cats. He will stop at nothing to claim the animal. Heck, even one time he stole animals from a pet store by enlisting the help of the girl with the long blonde hair. He didn't get arrested, however, as the boy with glasses told him about the camping trip, and he left with his friends to escape the police. When the boy with round features opened his eyes, he saw an animal he had never seen before right in front of him. This animal was large, with horns at the top of its head, and its striped fur that was blue and red. The eyes were electric yellow. Its snout was long and narrow, about as long as a wolf's, but more narrow than that. Finally, the tail was so long that it dragged to the ground. The fur on the tips picked up the dried leaves and made the fur hard enough that the tail could be used as a club. Amazed by this animal, the boy with round features followed this animal through the forest. As the boy with round features followed the animal, ground was bouncing up and down, kind of like in a cartoon where the ground is bubbly and everything looks very squishy. That was beginning to make the boy with round features very nauseated. He almost puked. But he continued after the animal. After an hour had passed, and still chasing after it, the animal led the boy with round features to a lake. The animal jumped into the lake and swam underwater. The boy dove in after it. With each minute he was under the water, everything for him was getting darker and darker. Sometimes in life, it is a good choice to be naive. It can keep you out of trouble and good grades in school. However, it can lead you to some poor life choices, such as accidentally revealing secrets to friends that shouldn't even find out about those secrets, or being completely oblivious to the world around you, in turn causing you to end up getting into situations you have no business being in. So, in our final vision, the night our camper will soon learn about the choices of naivete and how much trouble it can land you in when you step into my land. The girl with the long blonde hair had always been naive all her life. To her, schooling and innocence were very important to her, as she feared her parents. To her, she doesn't ever want to let them down and have them kick her out of her house. She kept this up for most of her life, until she met the boy with round features and the boy with glasses. These two, when she met them, they were in their freshman year of college, and began to lead her down a wrong path, such as the boy with glasses making her do his homework and babysitting the girl with long blonde hair. She was, however, beginning to get tired of her friends taking advantage of her, and so she set up this camping trip to try and kill them. When they arrived at their campsite, she found a place where all the hallucinogens were at, and she had them set up there. knowing that she could try and feed them the berries and plants while they slept. So, when I was goofing off and blew all of their food away, the two boys brought the hallucinogens to them. She knew she was in trouble. She ate some of the plants and fell asleep. The girl with long brown hair and glasses had gotten off the ground and started to look for the others. She didn't really take too much of the plants and berries as the others did, but she took enough for her to have visions in the forest and have an understanding of her surroundings. As she walked through the forest, a Subway sandwich appeared out of nowhere. This sandwich had legs, and the ham and the pastrami formed the tongue. The sesame seeds formed the eyes, and the lettuce formed the arms and legs. She figured it was just a hallucinogen from all the food she had earlier, and shrugged it off. But the Subway sandwich threw itself right at her, getting the mustard on her clothes, causing her to run away screaming. After running, the girl with long brown hair and glasses hid underneath the tree. She was cursing her own naivete for allowing her friends to take the food that made her have these visions in the first place. When the coast was clear, she stepped away from the trees and was stopped by a giant robot with giant metal claws, wearing red Converse sneakers. The claw tried to grab her, but she got away from it in time. Then the foot of the robot tried to squish her, and she ran away from it. The robot tried to grab her again, but she ran right into a tree where the Subway sandwiches were hiding their young. All of the sandwiches started to swarm right on top of her and started to poke holes in her skin. And the girl with long brown hair and glasses collapsed right into the ground. Well, kiddies, I believe it is time for our tale to end for this evening. As I'm sure you all figured out by now that all the people whom were in the story I just told you are dead from their hallucinations. But I should tell you how they died in real life. The reason why I was telling you the story of these four friends was partially as a cautionary tale, but for the most part, it was completely out of boredom. And I just wanted to come out and bullshit some humans, as the problem for all of them began when I dumped their ice chest on the ground. That's how I caused their death in the first place, in the following way. Now, I'm pretty sure that you were able to figure out the boy with round features died with him drowning in the lake that he dove right into. In his vision, he was chasing after some sort of mysterious animal, when in real life, he was chasing after a speck of dust that I was blowing around, and it landed right in the lake. With that, dust only floats on the water, you say? Well, that's the thing. This boy was so consumed by his own greed, he dove into the water thinking he saw this piece of dust, and he never came back up to receive some air. For the girl with the long blonde hair, her procrastination killed her through the guilt of the fish that she killed over the years, trying not to get to school. The way she died began when I was blowing around all of the trees, causing her to freak out and run into the cave with a bear cub inside of it. Her panting woke up the cub and chased her out of the cave, and she ran to the mother bear cub. The mother bear lunged at the girl with the long blonde hair and began to tear the girl limb from limb along with the bear cub. Recall when I mentioned the word hypocrisy and I didn't touch on it very much with the boy with glasses? Well, this hypocrisy killed him. As he told his friends to never follow the moon's glow and find their way home, that is precisely the cause of his death. He was running through the forest when he saw the moon's light at the bottom of a cliff, and I blew him right off of it, landing him on his head and causing his neck to break in two. Finally, the girl with the long brown hair and glasses, now with her naivete. She didn't eat as much food as her friends had, and despite her efforts, she only ate a little bit of enough to have a small reaction to the hallucinogens she ate. And the way her naivete killed her in the end was that she still ate the food. She only ate enough for her to have a small reaction, giving her a mild vision that was mixed in the real world. Remember the way she died with little sandwiches putting holes in her and her dealings with the robot with red Converse sneakers? Well, the thing is, she ran into a construction site where they were building one of those 3-story houses, and the robot was a giant crane. When she tried to get away, she ran into a tree, and I blew down a bee's nest, causing her to get stung by a bunch of bees and hornets. Well, that is the story I just told you. If you have any questions, please just ask. What's that? You have a question? Sorry, I can't hear you. I'm blowing up a storm right now. Just remember the next time you step out of your house, office, or wherever you are coming from indoors and onto my earth, I will see and hear everything you do. So be careful when you step outside. Well, I believe that's the end, so bye-bye. Now, what force wind should I blow on New Mexico? And that was my story, The Wind. Well, some things that I noticed that kind of bug me today is... Well, I think I could have fleshed out the characters a little bit more, like kind of go into their lessons a lot more easier, kind of, because hypocrisy, naivete, procrastination, and greed, about 2 of those were good enough for me to delve into a whole lot more deeper. Those being greed and procrastination, I would say. Those 2 would probably be the ones I could have gone into a little bit more. I could have laid off the redundant information, because reading that I kind of noticed there's some paragraphs that I repeated. I probably should have fixed those before I posted it up, but kind of too late. I could have made the Wind have a little bit more of a personality, made it a little bit more snarky and a bit more of a smartass. Give him more personality. But that's what I could see that was wrong with it. Now, the one thing that I know I did right, that I feel like I really did well, was going into their hallucinations. Because when I was writing this, I was putting more focus into imagery, because I really, really wanted to play with imagery. And so, as an experiment story, I'd say I did okay in that department. But I could have gone into a little bit more detail on how they died, because some of the things that I showed kind of feel forced. So, with that, I would say I would give me a D. I mean, I set out to do what I wanted, create a story that had imagery, but I think I could have fleshed out the characters a little bit more, gave it a better narrator, not repeating redundant information. So, a D for me. That's what I would say. So, what would be your rating? What would you give me? Probably some of you might give me Fs, which I can also see why. Not my best work, but as an experiment story, it's eh. So again, D. Well, I'll see you in the next video for Halloween. Bye-bye. Bye. I don't know in this video, so bye-bye. I'm just leaving.